everyone. Welcome to CXO Spice. CXO Spice is a platform for thought leaders to share their point of view on innovation and explain how to make it happen in the real world. I'm your host, Helen Yu. Today's topic is AI-powered business travel. Our two special guests today are Charlie Sultan, President of Concur Travel from SAP Concur, and Ivan Konwiser, who is the Chief Product and Strategy Officer from American Express Global Business Travel. Welcome to CXO Spice, Charlie and Ivan.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, Alan. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. So I'm thrilled to have both of you here with us today. Before we dive into this important topic, let's have you introduce yourself and your role at SAP Concur and American Express Global Business Travel. Let's start with Charlie.
Sure, thanks a lot. I'm Charlie Sultan. I'm the president of Concur Travel. I've been in the travel industry for over 25 years in a variety of different roles across airlines, and now booking tools, expense management platforms, and just have a lot of experience. And I get to enjoy every day meeting with travel managers, with expense professionals, with travel industry pundits, with suppliers, and so it's always great to get a chance to talk about travel.
That's awesome. What about you, Evan?
Yeah, delighted to be here. I look after engineering and corporate strategy, sustainability, and communications for Amex GBT. And I, like Charlie, have been in travel industry for more years than I usually count or remember. But we have we have the travel bug, Charlie and I. So we're sort of like it or not, we're lifers in this very exciting and dynamic industry. And I've been at Amex GBT now for 11 years, focusing on mostly product and strategy related initiatives.
Well, so glad to have both of you here. Let's start at the very top, right? From the outside, this partnership represents a meaningful shift in how major platforms think about competition, collaboration, and value creation in the AI era. You're both leaders at companies that could have chosen to compete more aggressively in each other's space. So instead, you're building something together. What made this the right moment for this kind of bold collaboration? Charlie, I'll have you start first.
Well, it is true that we could have competed and we still compete in some aspects, but we've also been partners for decades now. And this industry is evolving so rapidly. We've seen a lot of vertical integration. And honestly, one of the things that this industry needs more of is actually some of the different players in the industry coming together. And so the vertical industry, the vertical integration really benefits customers. It allows us to move faster. And being able to do so together, really, the benefits of doing that far outweigh the benefits of working alone. For us, we re-platformed Concur Travel. We heard really good positive feedback from customers about the consumer-like experience, the AI capabilities. But as we went of transitioning customers from the legacy Concur Travel to the new, we kept seeing that one of the things that blocked us from moving faster was the fact that we needed to work with different people's integration schedules, different people's back office technology, different people's certification processes. And it was really just slowing down the ability to move fast across everything because we had to wait for everyone to catch up. And so we wanted to approach the environment and figure out how we could move faster. And certainly, Amex GBT is one of the leaders in the space. It really became very apparent to us that we could really just change the game and strengthen our positioning and our offerings to customers by building for the future together. And that by doing so, we could really offer more comprehensive solutions in a much faster way.
Well, that's profound. Evan, anything to add here?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely. We've been partners for so long, and we at Amex GBT really value our strategic partners. We think companies working together to support customers and deliver what they want is mission critical. And so, listening to our customers, many of whom have been customers of both SAP Concur and Amex GBT for a long time, listening to them has taught us that us working together was one of the big unlocks they were looking for. They wanted all those things Charlie was just talking about on the better user experience, but they wanted it fully enabled. And as you think about the transition, and I'm sure we'll talk about this today, to the AI era and the data that's required to make that happen, I think we both came to the conclusion that working at arm's length we just weren't going to be able to move as fast as we could on solving the problems that our customers were asking us to solve. And frankly, we're getting impatient at the pace it was taking us to solve those things, even when we were aligned on delivering that for them. So this is a huge unlock for us to deliver what customers want, which is they're two of their biggest technology vendors working together to deliver solutions for the future and really unlock the value of data and AI in the agentic era for the benefit of them and their traveler stakeholders. And we're incredibly excited at the work that's been happening since to really bring that to life.
Love that. Listening to the customer set the stage really well here. Right, Charlie, let's go a layer deeper here. SAP Concur has been the dominant player in expense management for years. And what did you see in partnering with Amex GBT that you couldn't achieve alone? What does co-developed with AI at its core mean in practice?
I think anytime you look at an ecosystem and you're handing off data or you're taking processes from one place to the next, uh, yeah, it's possible to develop those things on your own and then throw them over the fence and then hope that it works for the party on the other side. But obviously, it's going to take a lot longer and you're not going to have the understanding. So for us, partnering with Amex GBT meant one, that we can partner with a leader, we can partner with a TMC that more than 50% of our customers actually already use, and to ensure that we're actually making the solution better to everyone. In addition to that, MXGBT has an amazing marketplace of content that can pipe directly into the SAP Concur technology stack and give customers access to over 600 airlines, more than 2 million properties. And so we can actually start building the technology together to really unlock greater savings, greater incentives for customers. And the reality is that sophisticated customers don't just use a booking tool or an expense solution or a TMC. They use all of them together, right? And so being able to co-develop with AI at its core means that AI is embedded across the managed travel journey, from the way that they shop, they book, where they get their content from, the offer creation, all the way through the servicing, the communication, the post-trip. And one of the things is obviously as a travel and expense company, we do have a tremendous amount of data at our disposal, but we don't have a complete set. Once you layer in the data that Amex GBT brings to the table, from everything that they see, everything that they do, all of the experiences that they have, all of the offline transactions that happen, we can now formulate a much more complete vision of what the customer is. And in a world, a lot of companies will throw AI out there as a discussion topic without really fully understanding what it means. The core of AI is you need to have good data, good security, and good processes. And we together are going to have the most comprehensive set of data to really be able to provide maximum value to the customer.
Well, that's music to my ears, Charlie. So, I love the fact you talk about data security and processes, right? And in the end, that would really help personalize the traveler experience. So, Evan, from Amex GBT's side, this kind of partnership also requires intentional choices. GBT has its own technology platform, including Agencia. Walking into a co-development relationship requires trust and shared vision. How did you think about the product strategy here? What does Amex GPT bring that makes complete differentiated?
Yeah, that's a great question. As we think about co-development, it's really a powerful tool to bring to the table when two partners can work together to build something together. And the complete T&E vision is really defined by us collaborating on product planning, on road mapping. Where do we want to be? How are we going to get there? What are we building? But then also building it together, which means each providing each other some services, APIs and microservices to each other to code, as well as working towards a path towards full code development, where we're actually committing code together. And so unlocking the power of two development teams working together it's really fun. It certainly has its challenges, right? But it's really fun because it's something that creates an opportunity that both of our teams have always wanted but have never been able to do, and really driving the speed with which we innovate on this product and the types of things that we can do within the Concur, the complete T&E product. So it's a really exciting opportunity for our teams to do more faster and drive more value. As far as the product strategy goes, it's great also because with Agencia, we are also integrating that into Concur Expense. And so this is a new opportunity, something that a lot of our customers who are on Agencia have also been asking for, which is to bring their Concur T&E instance together with Agencia and create a closer linkage to a unified travel and expense solution using Agencia and Concur Expense. And so we have both these offerings, Complete and Agencia plus Concur Expense, because we have a customer portfolio, a large customer portfolio with divergent needs. And we want to be able to have a product suite that's going to meet the needs of lots of different customers, small, big, regardless of where geography they're operating in, regardless of their list of requirements. We know that we're going to have a joint T&E solution that works for them between these two great products. And so this really, from a partnership standpoint, it unlocks both the value of both of these product franchises, and it unlocks the ways of working by collaborating together in this new co-development way that enables us to move faster and do things, frankly, we couldn't do before. So really unbelievable momentum that we're unlocking by working together in this way.
Yeah, I echo that. I know many of my customers will be thrilled about hearing this. So we've talked about the why and the strategic intent, right? Let's now talk about the how, because execution is where most partnerships either stall or shine. You're both investing real development resources and funding into this. Can you walk us through what joint innovation looks like day to day? And Charlie, maybe you start, and then I'll have let Evan add how this differ from the typical integrations you've done.
Yeah, this is it's actually really exciting, right? Because we both spend a lot of time talking to customers about what they need. So whether the customer is the end traveler, the travel manager, the chief procurement officer, the accounts payable group. And so one of the things that we really, at Concur, we've been focusing a lot on how do we make that experience resonate across the entire business suite for a customer. So how does a travel manager go all the way through, and not just on the travel side, but how does that data flow all the way through, not just even into your expense report, but going beyond that into the rest of the SAP Business Suite, and how does that data truly get aggregated? And so it's excellent because the GBT team also spends a lot of time very closely talking to the customers and understanding what's changing with the supply space, what's changing with the way the structures are there, what's changing with the needs and the demands. And so we can all come together and we can brainstorm, we can do joint research, and we can say, hey, what are the largest pain points that we need to solve for our customers? And things maybe that Evan's team would have discovered before is that one of the biggest pain points might be in something that Concur is doing. Or we may have talked to a customer and said, oh, well, that's not really something that I control. That's something that they control. Now we're at the table together. And so we're discussing everything that we're hearing. And it doesn't matter whether it's my issue, whether it's Evan's issue. We're just working jointly on how do we fix it. And what's great about this is it's a true joint investment. Both companies are allocating additional funding, dedicated resources to be able to build these things. We're talking to customers together. And so we really get to play with our strengths. With Amex GBT, bringing the value of those relationships, of their travel expertise, of their marketplace, and SAP Concur can bring together the leading Concur travel platform, the remainder of the SAP Business Suite, our experiences, and we can really join up the innovation to align the travel, the expense, the payments, the servicing into a single roadmap, and we can move faster than the industry has really seen before.
That's amazing. Yeah. Evan, what's your take? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's a great opportunity, and it definitely comes with some challenges, aligning two teams to work together in a new way. So what we spent a lot of time over the last several months doing is, kind of the boring work of building a joint product planning process, getting ourselves so that our data on product planning feeds into each other's systems, which is not easy when you're talking about two companies that have high data security and ways of operating. So doing that, having workshops with the product leadership across the teams, but it's not just your typical folks working on some of the product features. We also have to work with folks that are working on data, folks that are working on some of the back office operations, folks that are working on, for us, the traveler care operation, managing travelers, folks that are working on the mid office operation, which is owned by SAP Concur. People are working on profile systems between the two teams, right? So you have to align not just the stuff you're building, the cool stuff you're building, but honestly, one of the biggest things is aligning the plumbing, because the plumbing is really all dependency on building the really cool features, the personalized, contextual, automated features, the AI features that our customers and travelers really want. You got to get the plumbing working well. And that's an area where our industry has struggled historically. As Charlie said before, with SAP Concur working with a travel tool that has to be supported by hundreds of TMCs, and Amex GBT supporting many booking tools, right? We've both lost an opportunity to really align the plumbing in a really significant way to drive the speed of development. So aligning the plumbing is what we're working on, building that road mapping process together. Simple things like Amex GBT works in what we call our 180, a 6-month product planning process, and SAP Concur has a rolling process where they add a quarter on each quarter down the road on their Concur travel roadmap. So even sort of simple, quote unquote, simple things like that we have to bring together. And so we've been doing that. We're having a lot of fun with it, teaching each other best ways of working as we go, bringing the right stakeholders together, workshopping. So we spend a lot of time together. Our teams have always actually spent a bit of time together. We've known each other quite well for many years, but it's at a new level. We each get to exposure to new folks from both teams. So that's been a lot of fun and really getting that planning process into a state that can really hum. So I won't declare victory. I think it's going to be constant work to drive that. I think we've already had a handful of really big unlocks. But as we go through 26, we're going to bring more and more of these stakeholders to the table and build this joint process together. And the output, really, what we're building for is honestly it's speed, it's velocity, building features and functionality and capabilities that are the highest on our customers' wish lists and our need lists. And so that's what we're designing for, and that's a truly fun process.
Well, aligning plumbing can be daunting, but you made it sound like so fun, right? So kudos to both of
Yes.
you. So all of that innovation ultimately needs to translate into a better experience for travelers, right? And those living like me, living inside these systems every week. So you mentioned unified traveler support via integrated chat agent and a single experience to manage that entire trip. So walk us through what does a business traveler's experience look like when they are using Complete versus what they deal with today?
Yeah, so travelers are looking for a single solution that's going to deliver them all the things they need from the initiation of the trip all the way through the expense reports being filed, completed, and paid, right? And they want all of that to be seamless with as little action by them as possible, whether things go right or whether things go poorly. And sometimes in travel, things go poorly or people want to change, and that has implications. And so to do that, we need to take the software, which is provided by a combination of Amex GBT and Concur, the servicing environment and support environment, which is a combination of teams as well, and our travel counselors, the agents that help when things go really wrong. And we need to stitch that up with one data layer, one marketplace, and one access to toolset that can provide that unified experience. And so historically, in our industry, sometimes these things have had different access points. The marketplace access was a bit different. The servicing access was a bit different. The data didn't flow all the way through. So solving that problems now allows us to unify that toolkit and build AI tools on top of it that take advantage of that unified toolkit. And so where a traveler can now either whether they're going into a web, a mobile, or a chat interface, can ask for things and get that delivered. That delivery is sometimes proactive based on some of the needs we may know, or maybe it's quick reactive. They give an order and we fulfill that order. It's contextual. It knows what the traveler's environment is, what they're looking for, what their situation is. And of course, it's personalized. We know what their preferences are. We know what their policy is. We know what the constraints are. We know how they're paying, right? And so what we can do is now we can offer them offers on trips. We can take care of the needs. We can monitor things and proactively accommodate when things happen. And importantly, we can escalate to a human if they want it or when we think it's necessary to make sure that they get the human touch of support as that is necessary. And sometimes in travel today, that is still necessary. And that's an incredibly important part of our value proposition as well. And then, of course, bringing all of that data, including payment data, back into an expense repository that SAP Concur manages to make that seamless and hands-off as possible, is the utopia, and we're getting there. And I'm actually confident that with the data we have now and the processes we're building and the AI and working with Joule, incredible advantage of access to SAP's AI environment in Joule, the amount of automation that we can drive through this process as well is really incredible. So that's the vision that we're striving for. It's evergreen. We're always going to be working towards, sort of the more perfect future, but together, we're going to get there a lot faster than we otherwise would.
It sounds like a personal travel assistant I've been looking for. Thank you for describing that. Charlie, Evan just described this front-end experience, right? We're all looking for. As a friend, like frequent traveler myself, the least loved part of business travel is filing expense after my trip. It's really administrative burden. So the promise here is, I mean, if I heard you right? Booking, servicing payments, and expensing into one experience. So how does AI change that paradigm? Are we talking about expenses that basically file on its own?
Yeah, it's a combination, and I know AI has certainly gotten a lot more play and a lot sexier over the last 2 years or so. But the reality is, at SAP Concur, we've been using different flavors of AI for over 10 years now. And so, I can give you one example, which is, when you get back from your trip, one of two things could happen today with Concur. You could take, if you stayed at one of the hotels that is e-receipt enabled,
Mhm.
basically, if you booked it in the tool or if you booked it through one of our other products, the receipt will automatically get loaded into Concur expense for you without you having to do anything, and will automatically get itemized. If your company wants to itemize the taxes separate from the meal, separate from the core hotel, AI is in the background doing that. But if you don't happen to be with one of the e-receipt capable properties, you can just take your receipt folio now and drag it into the tool, and it automatically use AI to do all of the itemization for you, so that you can actually not have to type it in yourself. Similar, if you're going to a business dinner and you're there with three or four other people, some colleagues, some clients, instead of you having to go figure out who you ate your meal with and what their titles are, if those were all in your email, if they're all in your contacts, if they were all in the calendar invite, AI can take that information automatically and put it into the expense report for you. So, yeah, our goal has been for several years to enable the expense report that practically manages itself to basically create expenses automatically from all of these transactions, enriched with the right context, checked against the policy in real time, and pretty much make it ready so that when you do get back from your trip, you can just look at the expense report and say, yes, that is all correct. Go ahead and hit the submit button, right? And so one of the things that AI allows us to do, in addition to augmenting the data and capturing your lunch receipt, and maybe the receipt didn't have the city in it, but everything we know said that you traveled to London, that you were there for 4 days. And so instead of making you go back and fix the receipt to put that it was in London, we can gather all the contextual clues from different places and automatically put that into it for you. So, with some of our payment vehicles, we can capture spend at the moment of purchase, apply the policy instantly, flag issues before they become a problem, and instead of having to reconcile it weeks later, the expenses are categorized, they're validated, they're enriched near real time. And so that really helps to reduce friction for the employees. It gives finance access to much cleaner, more accurate data, and it makes your expense report sail right through without you having to do much for it.
That
And
saves
Charlie
so
pays
much
for
time.
dinner.
Yeah.
And Charlie pays
Charlie
for
pays
dinner.
for dinner.
You know how much time it will save for us? I remember those days we have to figure out who the 20 people were there at the dinner with us, right? And then to list all their names. And thank you. Kudos to both of you. Both of you have mentioned AI trained on millions of trips and transactions. That scale is really powerful, but only if it's applied to the right problems. So, as chief product leader, what specific problem can this data solve that weren't solvable before? Evan, maybe you can start with a marketplace or booking example, and then I'll have Charlie talk about the expense and compliance side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, marketplace is a great example. The travel marketplace involves hundreds of airlines, millions of hotels, and you have to make sense of that for a traveler. We talked about personalized, contextual. You also have corporate needs. You have corporate policies. You have location information. You have different rates for even multiple rates within an existing property. And of course, we know the airlines are disaggregating rates as well. You have economy and first class rates that now have multiple rates within that, refundability, seat selection, et cetera. So the sort of arms race on merchandising and travel is just growing at an exponential scale. There are now millions of choices, where even 5 or 10 years ago, there may have only been thousands of choices, right? Given the proliferation of what we call merchandising in the travel industry. And so this is a perfect use case for AI to make sense of all the offers that are available, analyze them against all of these things, including you as a traveler, what you want, but also what's permissible under the policy of your company, and then making recommendations against that. Now, you can always decline it. You can always ask for more. You can always, ask questions about it. So it's not to say that, we're forcing anything on you, but it gives you an opportunity to make sense of that world for you. And over time, build confidence that that tool is learning your preferences and more frequently giving you exactly what you want. And we've seen that in the traditional display where you search, I want to go from X, from one place to another, give me my results. And more now, we're able to say, we think we know what's best for you, and we can put it on top of a display. But if you put that into an AI environment, let's call it a chat box, like a GPT type, or even in Microsoft Teams or GChat or Slack, in that type of environment, it raises the premium now of really getting it right. Because you're not going to sort through 100 choices. You're probably going to look at a couple and choose the one that's right for you, and you want to have confidence that that's going to be right. So taking the data on what you've chosen, taking the data on what other people at your company choose, taking the data on what is available to you from the marketplace based on all these different rates, and matching that up to meet business needs and personal needs. That's a magic that AI is incredibly well poised to deliver on. We have a lot of experience on doing that with models to date, but now together we can take this to the next level right at the time when it's becoming most important for travelers to get that. So this is a big unlock that together we can accomplish.
Well, I can't wait for that to happen, right? And just because it saves so much time and also make our experience so much more pleasant. So what about from the expense and compliance side, Charlie?
Yeah, I think what AI is really allowing us to do at scale now, leveraging all of the data that we have, is better identify patterns of non-compliance, identify waste, identify some of the risks before the report ever even gets to finance, right? So AI can actually guide travelers towards making better decisions in the moment and alerting them as to what the policy is in the moment. The reality is, right, most companies have, I don't know, 10, 15, 20-page policy documents on what's allowed during travel or not. And we can actually leverage those using large language models, using agentic AI, and really be able to help you at the point of sale, at the point where you're writing your expense report, figuring out what's missing from your report, and really moving compliance from a manual auditing process to really a continuous, intelligent monitoring. So finance leaders can actually get predictive insights, not just historical reports. Uh, and really, I mean, one of the things that we're doing right now is our modules are catching AI generated receipts
Hmm.
to say, hey, you're trying to fake a receipt with AI, and my AI agent actually can catch your AI agent doing that. And so we can actually stop a lot of that at the point. So ultimately, it really becomes about trust, about cleaner data, about fewer surprises, and really getting to the point where data is not just a passive dashboard that you see, but it is something that is filled with insights for either the travel manager, the accounts payable group, the procurement, the finance professionals to be able to see everything in one place. And ultimately, for customers who do choose to use SAP Joule, doing that across not just travel and expense, but being able to really do that across their entire company spend and company's ecosystem without having to go into each unique system itself.
You know, the AI modeling catching AI generated seed is a quite interesting example. So that brings us directly to our CXO audience, right? Many of whom are actively managing cost pressures, traveler expectations, and supplier relationships right now. And I came across your press release that mentioned NDC content, modern retailing, plus you're transforming partner ecosystems. So for our listeners here who manage travel programs, what does this alliance mean for their ability to control cost while keeping travelers happy? And what should they know about this transition? Charlie, tell us more about what changes they should expect in their toolkit. Then we'll have Evan talk about how they address the partner ecosystem piece.
Sure. I think obviously CXOs going forward are no longer going to have to choose between control and experience. They'll be able to sort of get design. We're designing for both, right? So
Mhm.
Complete will bring together, we've talked about the richer content from the GBT marketplace, clearer pricing, stronger policy alignment. We'll be able to display to travelers a lot more of the options. What are the different options? As Evan mentioned earlier, the airlines are now bifurcating their products even. It's probably more than bifurcating, it's multifurcating, I guess, if that's a word. But there's so many different facets now of what that product has. And so to be able to look at everything in one place without having to go to multiple places to understand what the product has, what's in policy, what's not out of policy, what the real pricing is going to be, we'll be able to bring that together in one place and administer policy to it. And listen, we've talked about AI a little bit. Obviously, having AI be able to sort of sort through your policy documents, your preferred airlines for you, your preferred airlines for your company, and really being able to surface the right options, and not just the cheapest one, right? That used to be what it meant when it was the surface, the right option meant, hey, what's the lowest logical fare out there? The reality is the lowest logical fare may now involve you spending an extra night at a hotel and paying an extra $300 for that, or
Yeah.
staying a little bit further away and having to take a $65 Uber ride there and back, which would have outweighed whatever benefits you would have had of the savings there. And so really being able to layer the full data together to say, hey, if you care about sustainability, if you care about productivity, if you care about cost, this is the optimal decision for you. Let's surface that to you. Let's make sure it's in policy. And so for the traveler, they're getting more productive. They're getting more satisfaction because they're getting the better choices. The company is also realizing those benefits. And so all of this really becomes additive, right? Customers don't lose capabilities. They actually gain speed, they gain clarity, they gain optionality. And so the combination of all of those just makes the experience far better for everyone involved.
So well said, right? The balance between control and experience, we can now have the best of both worlds for sure. And
Exactly.
yeah, Evan, what about, how could you add a little bit more on the partner ecosystem piece here?
Yeah, well, Charlie brought up some really great elements there that I can absolutely build on here. I mean, we talked about leakage as well, which is, when people are buying travel outside of the managed travel program, there tends to be very little oversight on what they're buying, and it tends to be unclear whether they're taking advantage of discounts that are afforded the company, or frankly, whether they've are buying things that the company may want them to buy from a comparison shopping standpoint. And so, having great travel products also helps bring people into the ecosystem. That gives a lot better control to a CFO or a chief procurement officer to make sure that they know what is being purchased by their employees and they have an ability to even measure that to be able to trade off and make sure they're finding the right balance between employee productivity and cost. And then, of course, AI gives us the opportunity to really fine tune that balance and, frankly, shift it over time. I mean, we all know that companies go through periods, even quarter to quarter within the same year, even month to month, right, where they're thinking differently about the cost versus productivity trade-off. They need to tighten to finish a quarter, or they just got a whole new project and need to loosen the rules because they got to get people out on the road to go visit vendors, go visit customers, and they want to make sure that they remove some restrictions or add some benefits, right? So it happens both ways on a regular basis. And I think historically, this has been a fairly clunky thing for CXOs across both businesses, large and small, to manage. With Complete and bringing these environment of expense and travel together, we really hope to provide a toolkit that is on the front line with the employee experience that helps give them great experience, linked to the partners that they're working with, the airlines and hotels, the car rental companies, the ground transport companies, where they're all getting preferred deals. They're getting recognized for the value that they bring as a buyer to the table, and bring that together in a way that allows true optimization. That's a journey. That's not a flick the switch and suddenly everything's perfect. But we're creating the environment and the connectivity to really start doing that at a meaningful scale, which has historically been a very manual process and a very challenging process for our customers to manage. So I'm very excited about what happens when we link all this up in a way that really responds to the needs of all the various stakeholders we've got and balances it in a dynamic fashion. And so we can take that 20-page travel and expense policy that may be written and may have worked at one point in time, and we can translate that into a set of dynamic business rules where travelers are just getting a really good experience that meets their needs, and CFOs are getting perfect clarity on what's being spent and why, and they can adjust that trade-off as the needs of the business change very seamlessly.
Well, you raised a very important point about the cost productivity trade-off. So thank you for making that clear, right? To close us out, let's fast forward and look ahead because this partnership isn't just about incremental improvement, it's about redefining what's possible for business travel. So now it's February 2026. A CXO is listening to this and thinking about their travel and expense program. So, Evan, you said this, right? Reimagines how travel and expense solutions deliver value in the AI age. So what's your moonshot vision for what becomes possible in 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've touched on a lot of really exciting opportunities here. For a CFO or a chief procurement officer, I think it's the ability to use an AI tool to seamlessly calibrate the balance between what they need to spend and then having the tool automatically translate that into a policy that enables the maximum value return for their travel budget for that period of time automatically. So take the business needs and translate it automatically into rules and ultimately into demand and success for travel. And so that means integrating not just between us, but you can imagine integrating into your CRM infrastructure, integrating into deeper into your finance infrastructure, of which SAP brings a lot of this to the table through their software as well. So it's not just travel and expense; it's deeper into that ecosystem, which is part of why SAP is such a great partner. So we can automate more and more of that business decisioning into the outcome. And for the traveler, I think it's about switching from fast reactive to truly proactive agentic use cases. So today we're talking a lot about you can go in and say, hey, I got an invite to a meeting in Abu Dhabi. Can you take care of that for me? And I think today we can make a good play at that. The next one is that it's presenting options to you, or frankly, even taking care of it for you, putting a hold on it automatically. Maybe waiting for your approval to say thumbs up if you like the itinerary, but it's doing a lot of proactive processing for you. Agents that are working for you all the time. Agents that are constantly seeking out if a better seat is available on the plane, constantly seeking out the operational impacts of a storm to track aircraft and track movements and make sure that they're getting you a new seat on a new plane if you need it as fast as possible. So agents that are sort of working on your behalf, doing lots of things so you can sleep easy or be in your meeting and focus and know that you have the army working for you. And then, of course, seamlessly transferring to a human who could get his or her head wrapped around that quickly if and when that's necessary as use cases that arise. And then finally, I think also talking to your personal AI. I think this is one thing that is coming that the industry and lots of B2B industries have to react to, which is understanding that people are going to interact with AI on their own personal terms and they're going to interact with AI for work. And we like to say, typically neither Twix shall meet. These things don't work well together. But travel transcends your personal life, right? Travel transcends, when you have to be back for the soccer game for your kid or what's going on in your life that may require your attention. Travel is not isolated to one or the other, the way some other things on your work computer might be. And so our job is also to master our jobs, but then also find the ways that interconnect in a compliant and data secure way for our customers that deliver that full 360 use case for the traveler. That's the utopia. That's where we really know we're hitting it, where ultimately our travelers are joining companies and knowing that they want to use the travel services. They're excited to use the travel services of that company. When you join a company, and my primary goal is for people to ask before you take a job, who do you use to manage travel? And if the answer is complete or Agencia plus Concur expense, then you say, okay, this is a place that I want to work because I'm going to get the travel experience I want. I can't wait to use those services. And then please, 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 can I use it for my vacation travel as well? That's my goal. We're not quite there yet, but that's absolutely my goal.
That's a great tip, right? So that's win-win. I can't wait for that to happen, Evan. So, Charlie, what's the one thing you want CXOs to take away from our conversation today? What should they do next?
First, I think Evan had a lot of really great examples there. And I almost think that the piece for the traveler will almost be easier, right? A lot of people are out there thinking of how to build agents for the traveler. There's a lot of data out there and a lot of processes today that are maybe cumbersome for the traveler. I think for the CXOs, especially as you're managing all of your company expenses, the company experiences, is how all those systems are integrated. So the future of travel and expense is definitely integrated. It's intelligent. It becomes continuous. It's not a siloed and reactive process. And I think that goes far beyond just the travel and expense, right? I think AI is going to deliver the most value when the data does flow across travel, expense, payments, CRM, ERP. And I think with that integration will allow for a lot more proactive behavior, right? You could envision a scenario where a CFO comes and says, hey, we need to cut expenses by 10%. Where do we cut them? And as opposed to doing what most companies do today, which is, hey, every department now has a 10% reduction, you can actually tie into the CRM system and see which customers have been visited, which customers are at risk of attrition, which prospects need the in-person visit. And so you can actually see that integration becoming a lot more critical. And so, one, I think CXOs need to evaluate whether the current model that they have today is really going to be successful for them for the next 5 to 10 years, or whether that was optimized for the last 5 to 10. I think they should really be thinking very hard about everyone is talking about AI, but where is their data going? What data is being used? Is the data being safeguarded? Are the companies that are handling it responsible with their data? And I'll actually tell you, I think that it is actually going to be irresponsible for CXOs, for CFOs to choose solutions from a variety of different players to try to cobble them together. I think that the main value that's going to come here, although everyone's going to tell you, oh, we have APIs and we can pass data, the reality is that the cleanest data makes for the cleanest AI, the cleanest productivity enhancements, the cleanest predictability and everything else. And so I actually think it's irresponsible for people to bifurcate and choose solutions from so many different places. And I think the companies that are going to win are the companies that choose an integrated solution that will allow them to look at one dashboard, to look in one place, to have the fully integrated systems that can talk across so many of their different platforms in their company. And so I think that that's really what's going to describe to them what an end-to-end solution really looks like. And those that don't choose something that is fully integrated, I think they're going to find themselves kicking themselves 3 years down the line that they're having to either reinvest, or they're going to find themselves out on the street because a successor is going to come in who's going to implement that for them.
I
Well
can't.
said, Charlie.
Yeah, really profound, Charlie. So this has been an insightful conversation, right? Very impactful. So let me leave our audience with three key takeaways from our conversation today. Number one, AI is no longer an add-on, right? It's becoming the operating system for business travel. Kudos to both of you, right? You're connecting the booking, servicing, payments, and experience into a single intelligent flow. Number two, true innovation now requires deeper collaboration, not just integration of the systems with your shared investment, shared data, shared accountability across partners. SAP Concur and Amex GBT partnership set the tone for where the industry should be going. Number three, for CXOs, the opportunity is both strategic and human. We can now have the best of both worlds. It's no longer, you have to choose between cost and experience, or cost and productivity. So lowering cost and friction while dramatically improving traveler experience in real time is the new theme in the game, in the town. And also, right, you also mentioned about compliance. We talk about security, data, processes are all embedded in that experience. So kudos to both of you, and kudos to SAP Concur and Amex GBT. And thank you so much for sharing not just what you're building, but also how leaders should think about the future of business travel. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Stay hungry, stay bold, and stay grateful.